It's time for Hostel Discourse, Rogue One Special, Part 1. Now your host, David Rohlfing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Hostel Discourse. It has been a very long time since our last episode, but we are back for a really good reason. Star Wars Rogue One is premiering in just 9 days, and we are here to talk about some speculation of the movie and just other general Star Wars universe-related topics. We will release a second episode immediately after our viewing of Rogue One next Thursday, so keep an eye out for that. Now let me introduce you to our guest. First is Tim with me here in studio.
Hi, nice to see all y'all.
Tim was on the last Star Wars episode, as well as Mike, our second guest, my big bro.
Hello, I am not in the studio.
Yes. Remote from St. Louis. And then remote from Colorado Springs is Canaan Smith, a first-time guest on the show.
What's up, Hostel Discourse?
And a fun fact about Canaan, he has a Darth Vader and Boba Fett tattoo on both of his calves.
That's what's up.
And he currently has Darth Vader's and Boba Fett's on his ceiling.
Yes, I do.
Projected onto his ceiling, yes. I'm going to ask you guys a few fun questions so the listeners can get to know your Star Wars preferences a little better. So you can just take turns answering. The first one is, what is the worst line in Star Wars? Tim, you want to start?
Sure. I hope I don't steal anyone else's. It's from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when Jar Jar Binks steps in poo and says, "Ew, yucky poo," or something like that. Is that right? Like, am I remembering that quote correctly?
Whoa! I don't know. He just shakes his foot.
I think he just, shakes his foot, yeah.
Oh, man. I thought he said yucky poo. Well, that one is really bad, and I hate that scene, and I hate Jar Jar, so that's mine.
Valid.
Mike?
The easy go-to is the scene in Episode 2 where Anakin talks about how he doesn't like sand.
Yeah.
But that could be so bad that it's good. I was brainstorming this earlier and I came up with, there's a scene in Episode 3 when Obi-Wan is confronting Anakin at the end, and Anakin says something like, "From my point of view, the Jedi are evil." And it's just such a poorly written line. I don't even know how it's prompted, but it's just awful.
That is a pretty bad one. That was prompted by Obi-Wan saying, "Anakin, Palpatine is evil."
Then he goes, "From my point of view," it's just
exactly.
It's so poorly written. It's so bad.
It's pretty bad. My personal least favorite line is a whole scene between Anakin and Padme on Naboo in the mansion that they're staying on when they're first expressing their kind of feelings for each other after the kiss that you never should have given me. I'm haunted by the kiss that you never should have given me. That's the line that I'm looking for.
You are in my very soul, tormenting me.
Oh my God, Hayden Christensen, come on, man.
my heart is beating.
Oh man, it's
hoping that kiss will not become a scar.
That's my least favorite.
It's so bad.
But it has to be in there. It has to be in there, so.
Pretty much all of the romantic lines between Anakin and Padme are just so terrible.
Yeah, they didn't have any chemistry. You gotta have some chemistry, man.
Yep. Well, my line was, "I don't know. Me's day starting pretty okie day with the brisky morning munchie, then boom, getting very scared and grabbing that Jedi and pow, Misa here. Misa getting very, very scared."
Dude, why is everyone hating on Jar Jar already? Come on. I love that
funny.
line.
That's funny. I have an honorable mention that makes me, I guess, confused every time I hear it. Especially in Episode 3, there's a lot of Yoda action. And Yoda has a lot more lines than in the past, and a lot more just random lines. And he says, "Around the survivors, a perimeter create."
Around the survivors,
it's just
really?
Create. You had to switch that one around too.
That one's, yeah.
On to question number 2. Which Star Wars planet would you want to live on if you could choose?
This one's so hard.
I guess I'll start. Prior to the destruction, I think Alderaan looks like a lovely place to live.
Alderaan looks tight.
It's like a very mountainous terrain.
Very snowy mountains, yeah.
Yeah, very Colorado-y.
Yeah, it does seem very Colorado-ish.
Yeah, I had Alderaan in my top 2.
Alderaan's definitely in my top picks. Pre-destruction.
And rock climbing is a hobby of mine, so it looked like a nice climbing
you
planet.
might like Tatooine or something like that. Some large.
Are you joking?
It's a joke, obviously.
All right, good.
No one likes Tatooine.
I mean, I think I'm going to steal the obvious one. I'd say Naboo, just because when it's featured in the movies, it seems really lush and green, and obviously can't complain with that. And if plus, like, the royalty of Naboo, and, like, I think a lot of other people were going there for vacationing, I think that means it's a pretty good spot in the galaxy.
Yep, Naboo was my other top 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you're in some beautiful Italian,
Yes.
especially in Theed, the capital city. But also, I mean, that field they're in with like the inflatable cow things, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I know, it's like the
Inflatable
land
cow things.
fauna and the animals don't seem too bad, but the underwater stuff, definitely don't want to go for a swim in Naboo.
I
There's always a bigger
personally...
fish.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to go from a more historical perspective and go Korriban Sith Homeworld. That's what I would choose. It's the greatest source of dark power in the universe.
What's the environment? Is it just like
It's
gray and black?
No, it's a desert terrain. You would like it. Lots of rock climbing. Lots of ruins, ancient Sith ruins. Lots of tombs of ancient Sith lords. There's a Sith Academy there. It's sick, dude.
Canaan, I remember seeing like Korriban in the very last few episodes of the Clone Wars 3D animated TV show. Was that like accurate to what it was like at its height?
So Korriban, yeah, it actually was. They took that Korriban directly out of Knights of the Old Republic, which was the first mentioning of Korriban, and that's where you first got to like explore kind of the story of all the ancient Sith lords, and it's so awesome. Plus, I mean, that's just like if you want to be like a powerful person in the galaxy, then you got to go to Korriban.
They need to add that Sith Training Academy to Disneyland.
Oh my gosh, that's what I'm talking about, dude. So when I went to Disney and met Darth Vader, my breath was taken away. I'm not even kidding. The way that they do it there, how they everyone there takes it so seriously, and all the workers are like kind of scared of him, and like it is so crazy.
Did he talk to you?
Yes.
Okay.
He told me that when the dark side needs me, they'll call upon me. Well, he said the Empire. It's not as cool as the dark side. I took it as the dark side.
Did he like your tattoos?
I didn't show him. I didn't want to fanboy too hard.
Yeah. On to question number 3. If you could change anything about The Force Awakens, what would you change?
I have so many answers for this, but I also want to preface by saying, like, that doesn't mean I didn't like the movie. I just think the number one thing that still bugs me a year on is that I just think Snoke was such a poorly designed and looking villain. Obviously, we still have no idea what his, like, purpose is going to be in later movies, but as of now, I just really thought that was a really weak point in the movie.
No, I agree. And then they hyped him up with Andy Serkis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah,
That
because
he
he's
got
a
on
great
board.
actor with all the motion capture stuff in the Planet of the Apes movies, but he just, maybe it's just because the scenes were short, but I think we really need to see more of him before I can give a definitive yay or nay, but I just did not like him in The Force Awakens.
To be honest, I was surprised that he was in The Force Awakens at all. Seems like that would be more of a second movie in the trilogy type appearance, especially when you're relating it to like episode 5, seeing the projections of the Emperor for the first time on the Star Destroyer. But personally, the thing that I would change, to be honest, I don't think I would change this thing about the movie. I liked every moment of it. And I think that it is very deliberate why every single moment is there. And I think that it all follows a premise of the Force awakening, literally in the sense that it is no longer moving through the Sith and the Jedi, or through even humans. It is literally taking on a complete new life and taking form in the sense that it will split apart worlds. It'll split worlds to keep key characters away from each other, so that's like how I'm taking it. I'm serious when I say this. I think that they are going to go somewhere that none of us could ever see with Star Wars.
Like Inception Star Wars?
Like, I think it's going to go like the Force becomes like a everyday type of experience for people. It's like something that becomes known that everyone is capable of conjuring within themselves. That's where I think the direction it's heading, and that's why I think. I mean, the one thing that I used to be upset about was at the very end when Rey and Kylo just get split apart by the earthquake. It's like, oh, it's so whatever, like they just get separated by something so simple, but it's like in the end that's what makes it the Force, separating those characters, because both of those characters are going to come back and be critical to balancing the Force in the end of the I mean, who knows how many more trilogies there's going to be, but at the end of episode 9, when it seems like everything's okay at the end of episode 9, both Kylo Ren and Rey will have a huge part to do with that.
I think you're onto something there. I know we can talk about this in our Rogue One speculation, but in the trailers it shows Donnie Yen's character who's blind.
Yeah.
He's not going to be
Force sensitive.
a Force user, but he's like has faith in the Force or something like that. So that doesn't make sense if they're changing kind of like the way people have use of the Force or sensitivity to the Force. When watching The Force Awakens, you kind of question, like, how does Rey become this powerful all of a sudden? It's very different than from what we've seen in the past, especially the prequels, with going the whole like midichlorians route or whatever. I think they might be trying to undo that, kind of like you're saying, and make it more like an everyday thing that anybody can have. Even like maybe Finn has it a little bit, and that's why he could wield the lightsaber and everything.
Well, and his line with Han Solo when they're infiltrating the base, and he's like, "We'll use the Force," and Han's like, "That's not how the Force works." But in the end, they got the job done. So like that kind of was how the Force ended up working out for them in that situation. So it's just really interesting to see all, and even Han's whole spiel about, I used to doubt it too. Like Jedi or the dark, the light, a mystical force holding all things together. But he says it's true, and like he admits it, and it's like something that I'm so excited to see what they do with that, because to me, when they talk about that stuff, it's like they're talking about real life in my eyes.
I know that you have a much more personal relationship with the Force than most of us. Maybe we can get more into that on part 2 of the Rogue One special.
Let's just keep it to Rogue One.
Yeah. Mike, do you have a Force Awakens change that you would like to make if you could?
Yeah, I think one thing that would have been nice to see one more time is Han and Luke, some sort of interaction. You know, we're not going to get that unless they maybe show some sort of flashback in the next one. But even then, I don't know if that even makes sense with the timeline they have going on. So there's just one more kind of little snarky conversation where you see that they love each other, but they're still, you know, poking at each other a little bit, joking with each other. I think that would have been a nice thing to have one more time with the actors in their later years.
Yeah, that would have been nice, actually, now that I think about it. Han could come back as a Force ghost. That could be a huge switch up. That would be really weird. Because Rey has this really interesting attachment to Han as well. So, like, that would be, I don't know, could be explored. It's not out of the realm of possibility in my mind.
I was also kind of disappointed. I guess it was maybe how they advertised the movie. Every trailer had the shot of the Knights of Ren in it.
Yeah.
And then it was in the movie for like a half second.
Right, one shot.
You know? So like you think, oh, it's in the trailer, there's going to be this big fight with all these cool looking Darth Vader-y things.
Right.
And then you see them for like a split second. That stuff kind of made me mad, but maybe we'll see them later.
Well, that actually kind of brings up a point about why I haven't watched any Rogue One trailers.
I have watched each one once and I have stopped.
Okay.
And I
Canaan,
have not watched
save
any
that,
of the...
Save that thought
okay.
for a few more minutes, and
Right.
we'll...
For sure.
I want to say my Force Awakens.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
We'll get to Rogue One. Don't you worry.
I'm
Patience.
excited.
So, if I could change anything about The Force Awakens, I know that they really wanted to mirror the original Star Wars movie, so that's why a lot of it is very similar. One thing I don't really like, though, that just kind of made the movie a little more bland, in my opinion, was how they made Rey from another sand planet very similar to Tatooine. I mean, it could have been Tatooine on the other side of the planet at some other trading post or whatever. If they put Rey on, like, some other remote planet, but with a different environment, like a planet with islands, you know, like she's stranded on an island of some type, there could still be that trading post. There could still be that sense of isolation that was in the desert, but without just like reusing the same climate that they've used for Anakin and for Luke. I think that could have been really interesting. I mean, she could have been a scavenger on that planet too. There could have been a battle there. It could have even been Scarif, the planet that's going to be in Rogue One, like that jungle planet. That could have been the remains from that battle. Like,
That's a good point.
I feel like they could have linked those together. That would have been cool, or just simply made a new planet that was more interesting for Rey to be from. So that's one thing I didn't like about The Force Awakens, but I did love the movie overall.
That does make sense. It's interesting. There's so much about Jakku in the in the books and other stuff that kind of is outside of the separated from the movie. There's some significance about Jakku that I haven't quite grasped yet. I'm working on a book series called Aftermath by Chuck Wendig. The second one has come out and I finished that, but the third one, I'm guessing the third one will kind of release like the true significance of Jakku as a planet. That being said, they could have done exactly everything that they are doing with Jakku and made it a different environment. But it kind of does make Rey able to relate to Luke in like a very significant way, which I think will probably have a great deal to do with their relationship and how it develops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think of that similarity like in their relationship because we haven't seen any of that relationship yet,
except for
besides the
very
longing
first
glance.
introduction, which is so epic. God, I love it.
Yeah, that was so cool. Honestly, probably the best way to end that movie they could have done.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only thing I didn't like about that scene was how they cut to that helicopter shot at the end.
Oh, I
thought
love
that- I
that
thought that
shot.
was
That
excellent.
shot
No,
is
but yeah, like face, and on the face. It's like this weird shaky. It's like not even like framed right, and it like doesn't match a single other shot from that scene.
Endings need to be wider than the characters they portray. They need to open up the movie rather than
well, they
closing
should
it
have picked
off.
a better helicopter shot than that.
Dude, I love that shot. Like, I
I
really
agree with
do.
Canaan. Such a great shot.
Like, it really is one of my favorite shots of the movie. And I also think Force Awakens has the best opening shot of any Star Wars movie.
Oh, yeah. That was so cool. Such a great callback to episode 4 while still being completely different.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the original opening shot that they canned?
No, what was it?
It was gonna start. It was gonna pan down or up from the scroll, and then there was gonna be a hand floating through space holding on to a lightsaber.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
It was like Luke's chopped
Was that ever
off hand or
confirmed,
something
though?
like that.
That would have been sick. But then Maz Kanata has the lightsaber.
Right, that's what it was gonna. It was gonna be. It was gonna like lead into that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, that would make sense. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that all pans
That
out.
lightsaber gets figured out.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
So last time we recorded a Star Wars episode, the Force Awakens Blu-ray had just been released. That day, or right in that week, early April, the first Rogue One trailer was released. And I'm pretty sure that's the only one you've seen. Am I right, Canaan?
Yes, I did see that one, and that is the only one that I've seen.
What inspired that journey to avoid everything online?
Well, I started my master's program in screenwriting, and I was reading a book on screenwriting, and the author, Michael Haig, suggested not watching trailers, and he wrote a very, very convincing piece as to why you shouldn't watch trailers. And especially as someone who is in the business of writing movies. Ever since then, I've tried my best to avoid trailers, especially for movies that I'm excited about, such as Rogue One. I just feel like they give too much. They give absolutely too much away for anyone who wants to go a little bit and dig a little bit harder for any sort of information or try to put plot points together or whatever.
Yeah, a few days ago, I was scrolling through the Star Wars YouTube channel and writing down how many trailers, TV spots, featurettes, and stuff there were. And there was 1 teaser, 2 trailers, 6 TV spots, and like 5+ behind-the-scenes featurette things. And since that, like 3 days ago, they've added another TV spot and 3 more featurettes. It's like an insane amount of footage from the movie, and I've also been avoiding them mostly. I mean, I watched the main trailers. I've seen like maybe 1.5 TV spots and 1 featurette. But I mean, the movie industry as a whole is, for the past few years, has been showing too much in trailers, and Rogue One did the same thing.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Canaan. I've started to try to avoid them. I can't avoid them totally. And I think I watch each trailer once. I really oversaturated myself with Force Awakens, and I think it lessened the movie for me. It made it not as good of a movie-going experience. Like I knew Poe didn't die on Jakku because I saw in the trailer that he was flying the X-wing over the water, and that scene hadn't come yet. You know, I'd seen the trailer so many times that I'm like, well, I haven't seen the water shot yet. You know, because I knew there was a water shot coming. You know, I read all the articles, all the Entertainment Weeklies and Vanity Fairs and whatever, because I was so excited about it that I don't think I enjoyed the movie as much as I would have if I didn't know all that stuff. With Rogue One, I don't even know any of the characters' names. I know Jyn Erso, and that's it. You were talking about the Asian guy. I don't even know which one you're talking about.
I know the actor is Donnie Yen. I don't know the character name.
Right.
I
He's
know.
the raid, right?
Yeah, all I know is Jyn, and Krennic is the...
Jyn and Krennic is the antagonist. So I've been reading Catalyst prequel novel. Book.
You have, okay.
And that's pretty interesting. With that, it doesn't give any information away about the actual novel, but it sets up the plan of how they kind of like formed the start of creating the Death Star, the first construction plans, and it's crazy. It's awesome. It's a really awesome novel for anyone that would be into like, it's a little bit of a political kind of twist and turn. Fun
I tried
ride.
reading the preview they had on Amazon, and I actually was not a fan of the way they characterize Galen. Yeah, but if you say it gets better. So remind me, did the Geonosians initially start building?
The Geonosians were the initial constructors of the Death Star, correct.
Okay. What was their plan, and then how did the Empire, I guess, get a hold of it?
Well, according to the book, the Republic actually got a hold of it before they were the Empire, and they somehow convinced the Geonosians to work for them constructing the new plan for the the plans that they acquired, which it explains in the book. I would need to read it again to even be able to fully understand. It's very in depth, and it's got so much to it. Galen is a really interesting character, and that would be Jin's father. Mm-hmm. And he's this researcher who kind of ends up getting tricked into aiding the construction of the Death Star. So
I'm mad they even revealed that.
Yeah.
See,
because I knew Mads Mikkelsen was in the movie, but he wasn't even in the first trailer, and I was kind of excited about that. There's this big actor that we haven't seen yet, and then of course they show it in the next one. So.
Yeah, Canaan, you don't feel like reading this novel is ruining any surprise in the movie at all?
Well, no, I feel like it totally would ruin the surprise, but at the same time, I like to have the information, I suppose. I don't know, it's interesting. How can you be surprised by Rogue One? Like, you know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, either Vader's going to kill them all, or they're all going to go to Alderaan.
Pretty
much.
Yeah, and that in the end, they get the plans. They get the plans for the Death Star.
Right.
So, that's what Episode 4 is entirely based on. So,
right. We've all seen the sequel.
Right. I just like reading the prequel novels to get to know, have a feeling that I'm ready to see what's about to happen, but also I don't visually know what's about to happen.
Yeah, but Kanan will be able to, I think, really dissect certain scenes in the movie and character motivations after we see it because you've read the backstory.
True. And that'll be cool. That'll be a cool perspective. I'm definitely going to finish the book before the movie comes out.
I can see that perspective. Originally, I was trying to avoid any details from Catalyst just because, I didn't want any backstory to kind of be given away about Jyn and her family, but I get where you're coming from. You're avoiding the trailer so you don't see, get the visual surprise ruined,
right.
But you're getting the background of the lore, and I think that might be the better way to go, because the shots in the trailers that I've seen look amazing. Looks like maybe the most beautiful Star Wars movie we've seen yet, but, they're not going to be brand new for me anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, the context of them will be when I see it, but yeah, that surprise has ruined a little bit because I watched the trailers.
Right. And I've seen some of the shots of on Instagram, I'll be scrolling through and someone posts it and I try to flip it off right away. But I've still seen the shot that sticks with me the most is the inverted Death Star with the planet just spinning behind it. And I'm just oh my God. It is the coolest looking thing I've ever seen. Ugh. And that alone, that was enough. That literally was the only thing I needed to see from that movie to be I will not be surprised if this is the best Star Wars movie that we've seen.
I'm super excited for Gareth Edwards. I loved the newest Godzilla that he directed, and then even his movie before that, Monsters. So I think, yeah, Kanan, I agree with Kanan. I'm very excited to see what he does because I don't think it's necessary to make a super gritty new movie in any movie series because I think that's too easy for Hollywood to do these days. But I think the way they're going to do it, this movie will be especially refreshing. Yeah,
and there's been a lot of concern online about the reshoots and all this stuff that was going on.
Every movie does reshoots.
I know, exactly. And so, I'm just going to wait to watch it and then I'll decide.
But those complaints on the internet do raise a good question. I've always wondered, what if we got to see the original cut? And we probably never will, but what we get is what we get, so.
Yeah, going back to the trailers a little bit, a different movie, Suicide Squad, had incredible trailers, and I was very disappointed with the movie. So that has made me a little bit cautious, getting my hopes really high for this movie, because the trailers have made it look incredible, but trailers don't show all of the story, and the story is where Suicide Squad was severely lacking. The story of the villain and the story of whatever. I don't want to get into that movie, but why they needed to do the mission that they were on. And I just hope that the Rogue One movie lives up to the great trailers that they put out.
Mm-hmm. Well, if one thing that I've learned about reading the backstory is that there's just a phenomenal amount of depth behind these characters. And like the creative board at Lucasfilm is responsible for all of this. They are responsible for keeping the characters in line between the different mediums of storytelling in the Star Wars universe. So it's like their role to make sure that everything lines up, and like they're directly involved with the storytelling, the screenwriting, and like this what's going to happen with Rogue One. So it's like I'm really not worried about them like messing up a Star Wars story. Like it just doesn't seem possible. Like okay, I've seen, to be honest with you, 19 out of 20 superhero movies that I've seen, I've hated. And I don't feel like I will ever be able to say that about Star Wars. I hope that I will never be able to say that about Star Wars. If I do,
the chance is going to get greater.
If I can say it about Star Wars, yeah, the chances are increasing. If I can say that about Star Wars one day, I will be very upset.
I wanted to bring that up. So Disney obviously owns Star Wars and Marvel now. Marvel has been putting out, I don't know how many, 2 movies a year, maybe even 3 in some years. Do you think Star Wars, I guess, like, do you have a preference over, I mean, I know what your answer is going to be, quantity versus quality? And would you rather have a Star Wars movie every year, or would you rather have this trilogy, a couple spin-offs, and then no more Star Wars for the next 10 years before the next one comes out?
I mean, I think the nice thing about Disney owning it is that it's not like it's the same people making Marvel movies that are making the Star Wars movies. Sure, they're both owned by Disney, but they're very separate entities. And I do think, as Canaan was just talking about, the people that are running Star Wars know what they're doing. Sure, there may be a flop every so often, but with Kathleen Kennedy in charge and Pablo Hidalgo in charge of the story team and all these people that are just experts, they got a good little crew going on.
They're not going to mess it up. They're not going to mess up. But
and Kathleen Kennedy earlier this week was even talking about, she clarified some comments she said about bringing on a female director. And I don't, Canaan, you or any of y'all, please chime in. I don't know how far out they've actually gotten directors. Have they announced a director for the new Han Solo spinoff film yet?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the guys who did the Lego movie.
Oh, cool. Okay. But like beyond that, there's still like, what, 3 movies? I think they've slated out through episode 9. Right?
We know 8 and 9.
Yep. 9 is Ryan Johnson.
8 is Ryan Johnson.
8 is Ryan Johnson. Who's
9?
9
is Colin 9 is Colin Trevorrow, who did Jurassic World, which people are really apprehensive about. But
not excited. Not excited.
But the thing is that they are getting Star Wars fans to make these movies. You know, I guarantee you Colin Trevorrow as a child was a huge, I mean, I'm sure he still is, but he's a giant Star Wars fan. And I don't think that's a bad thing. George Lucas is not a Star Wars fan.
He's not, which is weird.
Why do you think was he ever? Or did he just like not like that it got so big and he had to deal with it? What do you guys think?
I think it's the latter, yeah.
I think that it's, to him, it means something different than what it became. In the end, you never get to decide what your art becomes. You just have to sit back and go along for the ride. And George Lucas got a hell of a ride with a $4.6 billion check at the end of it. So I don't think he's complaining.
Going back to the Colin Trevorrow thing, I actually don't think you should be dismissive right off the bat if you haven't seen his big directorial debut, which was a smaller indie movie called Safety Not Guaranteed with Aubrey Plaza. That was really good and a much more personal story than what we got with Jurassic World. So I think I certainly know from that movie he can do personal interactions well. I think it's just within the context of what kind of movie he's shooting. So I guess I am a little concerned about it being another big blockbuster movie for him, but we'll have to see.
You know, and I may be the only person in the world, but I actually really enjoyed Jurassic World because I had zero expectations for it. Like, I'm a Jurassic Park fan, but like not huge. And I was like, well, I'll go see it. It looks fun. And I had a really good time. I'm not saying that should be how Star Wars is,
right.
But I think I I'm not super concerned. Plus, he'll have the work of the 2 previous movies to go off of.
Yeah.
Correct.
More experienced directors. He'll have the work of the screenwriters and the story team. And it's not like they're saying, here, dude, just here, take this and just make a movie. There's more people involved.
Going back to the question, I personally might get a little sick of a Star Wars movie every year. And I would personally prefer quality over quantity. However, I think they're going to try to pump out one a year. I think that's going to kind of be the goal.
I don't think they're going to do more than one because they, like you said, David, you mentioned how their Marvel movies, what is Doctor Strange this year and what was the other one? I can't even remember. Civil War, duh. Yeah. I think Disney understands that too many blockbusters would oversaturate the market, especially when they have, this year, 3 huge movies. I think they get that, and they're probably, as of now, they're probably going to stick to the Marvel getting 2 movies a year and then Star Wars getting 1.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, seriously, I agree.
I was already thinking, like, if they keep on this December release schedule, like, Christmas isn't even going to be a thing anymore. It's just going to be Star Wars. Like, that's all I'm going to look forward to in December is just Star Wars.
A little off topic, but the last 4 years, it was Hobbit 1 December, Hobbit 2 December, Hobbit 3 December, The Force Awakens December. So December has been the ultimate movie month for me the past 4 years.
Hobbit 3 was so bad.
I didn't even see it.
I guess, like,
I didn't see it either.
as far as excitement goes, I was let down by the Hobbit movies, but The Lord of the Rings is my other favorite series.
Do you guys remember reading, I vaguely remember reading some news articles where maybe Kathleen Kennedy said they wanted to get back to that classic Star Wars May release date at some point, but I don't think they were.
That's what they were planning with episode 8, but then they had to push it back to December.
Okay. So.
Yeah, we were going to get 2 in like less than a year.
Yeah. That would have been like, I just like, I'm still not fully over Force Awakens.
How many times have you watched Force Awakens?
Over 15 for sure.
Whoa.
I watch it at least twice a month. It's just, man, it's so good. It just brings me back to that classic Star Wars feel while also having everything be so modern. And I just, it's a marvel to me of modern filmmaking because of the way they pulled that off. Because everything else that I've seen in the past, however long, I've just been so disappointed by. Like, that's really what it comes down to. I've been so disappointed in most other remakes or like reboots or whatever else, trying to bring back stuff from my childhood. Either stop doing that or at least do it right. Like, Star Wars did it right. And so I'm very thankful.
I've seen The Force Awakens 5 times. Not very much compared to you.
Yeah, I've seen it 4 times.
I saw it 3 times in theaters, once, or maybe 6 times. Once when the Blu-ray came out, once a couple months after that, and then like 2 nights ago I watched it in preparation for this show. But
yeah, I saw it 4 times in the theater and then never watched it again.
Yeah, I saw it 4 times in theaters. Such a good experience in theater. I loved the 3D too. I was very impressed with the 3D.
I'm mad Rogue One's in 3D. It's just to make money. There's no reason for it. They didn't shoot it in 3D.
Oh, they didn't even shoot it in 3D?
No, they didn't shoot Force Awakens in 3D either.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. To me, it was Force Awakens was one of the most impressive 3D experiences I've seen.
I bought 2D glasses so I could convert the 3D into 2D because that's the only screening I could get.
oh my god.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm right here.
That's awesome. That's what I would do. I got a 2D screening thing.
Okay.
I'm really excited. Fort Worth, I'm from Dallas originally, and I'll be going back there for Christmas. They're one of the few theaters that's doing the IMAX, 70 millimeter show. And they're going to have a preview for Dunkirk, which is Christopher Nolan's next film in front of it.
8 minutes.
I mean, David, if you want to make the road trip, I'll be seeing it.
They have it in 70 millimeter at the Science Center in St. Louis.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
But it's the OmniMax Dome. It's not an IMAX screen.
Yeah, same. That's what the one in Fort Worth is.
See,
but honestly,
they had Force Awakens in 70 millimeter in St. Louis, which was like very rare. There were like 4 in the country. And so, of course, I went and saw it there. It was my 4th time seeing it. I went to the Science Center, and it really, unfortunately, was not a very good experience.
Oh, really? Dang. Okay. Well, I'm glad it's not my first watching experience then for it.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely, if you're going to that first, I would definitely get tickets to a regular theater as well to see Rogue One. It's cool. I'm not saying don't do it, but I wouldn't see it on an OmniMax first.
I just want the standard 2D movie theater experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, originally I had been planning on getting the biggest screen in Tulsa, which was the 3D IMAX for me and Tim. I always buy the maximum number of tickets so we can have the biggest group possible. But
movie theaters hate him.
Nothing like Big D.
We ended up going with the smaller screen, still big, but recliner seats, 2D, normal, Rogue One. So I think that'll be a better experience. I don't like 3D on non-3D movies either. So
yeah, my only convenient option was 3D on a regular screen. So I'm gonna have to suffer through it. I'll wear my glasses.
Suffer well, my friend. It'll be worth it.
I was reading the article on Slash Film today that was talking about the 7 minutes of Dunkirk preview before the IMAX showings. Mike, you might know more about this, or Canaan. Rogue One was shot in 65 millimeter, which is like 6K technically. How can they play that in 70 millimeter IMAX screens? Do you know?
Was it shot on film or was it digital? Oh, sure, it wasn't the Airy 65.
I think it was film. Because I've also read some things about kind of like the cinematography of Rogue One and how they're trying to make it look like an old, more like wartimey movie. So I think it's on film, not digital.
No, I just looked it up. The Rogue One was shot on the Arri Alexa 65, which an Arri Alexa is definitely a digital camera as far as I know. Let me double check. Either way, they did not shoot it on IMAX. And so, the Alexa's digital, which means it was shot at a 16:9 aspect ratio at the biggest, as opposed to, 16:9 is your typical HD aspect ratio. I'm not talking about resolution. I'm talking about just dimensions, aspect ratio. IMAX film stock is like that really big square,
Yep.
The taller, at least non-Limax, is the big, almost 4:3 image. Even if you see Rogue One on a real IMAX screen in 70 millimeter film, it'll be letterboxed and it'll be up-resed.
Okay. That makes more sense.
There was only one scene in Force Awakens that was shot on IMAX cameras. It was the escape from Jakku, and it was unbelievable.
Yes, such a great scene.
At the Science Center and the OmniMax, when it cut to that scene, like it was a clear difference. Not just aspect ratio, but resolution. Like extreme difference. It looked amazing. And then 5 minutes later, it's over and it went back to 35 millimeter. And you could really tell a difference. It was the same as seeing Interstellar. I saw that on a film projector. They cut back and forth aspect ratios a lot between the IMAX and the regular 35. And it's really a huge difference. And quality and aspect ratio. So I'll be curious to see how Rogue One looks because they did not shoot that on IMAX film. And IMAX film is equivalent to like 18K or something like that. It cannot be reproduced digitally. It's something insane like that. So the Alexa shoots 6K. That's a huge difference. If Nolan did indeed shoot those scenes from Dunkirk on IMAX cameras, which I'm sure he did, like the real IMAX cameras, then that's going to look awesome. And then Rogue One's going to look kind of crummy.
Yeah, it'll be like worth it to see that Dunkirk preview in an IMAX screen, even if Rogue One isn't actually IMAX.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not discouraging you from seeing it in IMAX, especially a non-dome one. We saw Force Awakens on a real IMAX screen in Michigan, where my wife's family is, and it was really cool. It was well worth it.
Did any of you watch the Rogue One Facebook Live panel they did the other night?
No, what was that about?
They were just interviewing the cast kind of about like experiences on set and stuff, but they did this lightning round of stupid questions. The host asked Alan Tudyk, white milk or blue milk? And he was like, blue milk? What's that?
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh, dude. Are you kidding me? You're in a Star Wars movie, like, do your research. I don't know. You could just tell he wasn't like a huge fan. And then
you're not even going to see his face. He's just a robot.
True. But the next question was land speeder or snow speeder? And he was like, well, he didn't know what a snowspeeder. He didn't know what either of them were. But so he was trying to BS it, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, I like being in the snow, so I could be in the snowspeeder on the ground." And he was like, "A snowspeeder flies, you idiot!"
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
so mad.
that guy has like 3 different major sci-fi universes to sort through in his head because he's been in Firefly, Halo, and now Star Wars. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I'm a big fan of his.
He mostly does voiceover work, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. He's been in a lot of Joss Whedon shows as a live actor, though, but I'm not really sure what he's been doing recently in terms of non-voiceover stuff. But like Dollhouse was the last major TV show I remember he was in.
That just disappointed me as a fan. You'd think that the actors would care, but obviously some of them won't be as big as a fan as you. But.
Right.
I think that might work out well, though, for K2SO because he seems very detached, almost, from what we've been getting, and that works well for a robot, like you said.
I didn't even know that's what the character's name was.
I'm a little annoyed. I think it sounds too similar to C-3PO, just because it ends in another O, but...
I was thinking about this today. Do you think that there's any chance they'll have... It's been kept under wraps and Obi-Wan will somehow show up in Rogue One? Because, I don't know, he's alive during that time. Mm-hmm. He could be. Or a digital Princess Leia or something. I don't know.
Wait, how old would... So, I'm sorry, what actual time point does Rogue One take place at? How many years after Episode 3? Or how? No, it leads directly into Episode 4, right?
I think it's minutes before A New Hope.
I think it's right before A New Hope.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're right. Princess Leia would be... How old was she in
19.
18, yeah.
Okay.
I guess there's more...
Maybe we'll see her back.
Yeah, that could be something like that.
I personally would not want to see too many returning characters. Or
I don't think we could see an Obi-Wan or a Princess Leia in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I hope all we get is R2.
I think we know we'll see Vader, right?
Yeah. Which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
How big of a role do you want Vader to play?
I want him to fuck people up so bad.
Yes.
Like worse than we've ever seen it done.
Oh, yeah, like ripping heads off with the Force?
Yes, like...
Yeah. I agree.
So I don't know if this was from a trailer or if I read this somewhere or anything, but I just have this vision of Vader choking a rebel soldier with the Force, holding them up as a human shield, and just slashing down people with his lightsaber, like... And I mean, it's possible that we see it. Like we can see him in his most brutal form. Right at the start of Episode 4 would have been like the begin of his decline of power. I believe his most like brutal stuff would have been between 3 and 4. And so that's exactly what we're gonna see.
We don't have to worry about Hayden Christensen anymore.
Right.
We just get a stunt guy and James Earl Jones' voice, and we're good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, there were scenes in the Vader comic books
so good
of him wrecking shop and like moving a lot quicker, than we've seen in the original trilogy. Obviously Obi-Wan and Vader were old and moved slow, but yeah, if they made him agile and like actually formidable and brutal, that'd be really cool.
It would be.
I'm just worried. In a strange way, I actually don't want him to see him become too agile because I think a lot of Vader's scariness and his amount of like foreboding is from the fact that he's just kind of this
very slow.
Maybe he has a lot of he's slow, but he's very much unstoppable.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially because if A New Hope is an immediate direct sequel, he doesn't move very fast in that movie.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking though. He's just holding a rebel soldier with the Force about 6 feet in front of him. And there's just bullets or lasers just going into that guy. And he's just slowly walking through a battlefield, just chopping people down.
Yeah, sure.
And like completely unstoppable. Like just nothing can prevent him from doing whatever he's going to do.
Force catching thermal detonators.
Right, just like
throwing them back at people.
Nothing can get through our shields.
It's just insane. I mean, Vader. Oh, Vader. I love Vader.
Canaan, are you planning on dressing up as anything for the premiere?
I'm probably just going to go in my regular daily clothes, which already look enough like it's Sith robes.
Very true. One of my friends for our Secret Santa Hostel Secret Santa last year got me says I find your lack of cheer disturbing, and has Darth Vader on it. It's like a Christmas sweater, so
I also have a Star Wars Christmas sweater I'll be wearing, so
yeah.
I'm excited.
That's perfect.
Man, I'm so pumped. 9 days.
I can't believe it. We're single digits now.
We'll be there, guys. No more wait.
No more wait. I'm stoked to see it.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for joining us, Canaan, for the first time.
Of course. Thanks for
coming
having
back,
me. I hope
Mike
I wasn't
and
too
Tim.
obnoxious.
Make sure to check out our reaction and review of sorts for the movie. We'll be recording it right after we see it next Thursday. So check back in on all of our social media platforms then, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to Hostel Discourse. Subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. And check out our other social media accounts linked in the show notes. Join us next time for more inexhaustible debate over the most questionable of topics.